Why the next Khamzat Chimaev may be better than the original. Shavkat Rakhmonov has been very impressive so far in his young UFC career, and it appears that Shavkat is going to be one of the elite fighters in the welterweight division and potentially a champ in the future. Some people even think that Shavkat at this point is better than Khamzat Chimaev. But quickly, before we get the video started, for those of you who may not know, I'm Juicy MMA, I make opinionated MMA content, and if you guys enjoy videos similar to this, hit that subscribe button, that like button, and that post notification bell. But anyways, let's get into it. When you talk about the best base in MMA, it's pretty clear that it's wrestling. When you look around the UFC and you talk about all the champions or the elite of the elite fighters, most of those guys are either A, wrestlers, or B, have really good wrestling incorporated within their games. So just by being a really good wrestler, you instantly have an advantage over a lot of other guys who don't have that within their games. But a difference from the past and what a lot of these next generation fighters have is not only are they really good wrestlers, but they also have a pretty good understanding and a pretty good ability at striking as well. But now the question is, why do I bring this up and why do I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is the future? Well, let's break down his game to really describe why I feel this way. So starting with his stand-up abilities, Shavkat is very intricate. He does a really nice job at having that sniper approach, where he has a nice jab, he has a nice uppercut, hook, cross, can switch stances when he wants to, but basically he's not a guy who has a ton of output. He knows when to throw shots, and when he throws, he's more likely than not gonna hit the target. He has a ridiculous accuracy and he has really good power to back that up as well. In terms of his kicks, Shavkat has a nice ability to throw kicks to the legs, to the body, or to the head, but it's not necessarily something he utilizes all that often. Now in terms of his chin, I would say he has a decent chin. We haven't seen it tested all that much, but at this point I would say he has a pretty decent chin. He also has tremendous footwork, which is a big reason for why he doesn't get hit all that much, but one flaw I would say about Shavkat on the feet is he doesn't move his head all that much. So that's certainly something I would like to see him improve upon as he does progress in the UFC. But now moving on to his wrestling ability. Shavkat is a tremendous wrestler. We've seen it in a bunch of his fights already. He does a great job at getting his opponent to the ground relatively easily, and once he does get to that point, he basically either finds a finish with a submission, with ground and pound shots, or just dominates for a full 3 rounds or a full 5 rounds. It doesn't really matter. Shavkat is just that elite on the ground. He also does a fantastic job at staying patient on the ground and not forcing things to get out of position. And from top to bottom, in terms of skill, I would say Shavkat is one of the more complete fighters in the welterweight division. And I certainly think if he continues on this trajectory, he will be a future champ in the welterweight division. Now Shavkat already has his next matchup booked against Geoff Neal at UFC 285. Now this matchup is certainly an interesting one. Geoff Neal has been very hot as of late and he has really good stand-up abilities, but in my opinion, I think I would have Shavkat as a pretty heavy favorite in this matchup and I would fully expect him to win. I think in the end the wrestling would be too much, but even in the stand-up, I think Shavkat could hang with Geoff Neal and have a decent amount of success as well, especially considering Geoff Neal would need to focus on that grappling threat. Now assuming that Shavkat would be able to win that matchup, another matchup that I would see after that, maybe he gets the Wonderboy Thompson fight, but Wonderboy didn't want to fight him in the past, so I don't know if that would come to fruition. There's not a lot of guys in the welterweight division that would want to fight Shavkat even at this point, so if he beats Geoff Neal and he beats him decisively, it's going to be even more hard to find a matchup for him. Honestly, probably one of the only guys that would be willing to fight him would be Gilbert Burns, and that would certainly be a very interesting matchup as well, and more comparisons between Khamzat and Shavkat would come up if that matchup were to be made, as they would have a common opponent at that point. Now of course the eventual matchup that everybody wants to see is Shavkat vs Khamzat Chimaev, which in my opinion is a matchup that we will see in the future. I think what the UFC wants to do at this point is have it be a title fight and make it as big as it possibly can be. It seems like Khamzat is much closer to getting a title shot than Shavkat is, so probably what the UFC is thinking is maybe Khamzat gets a title shot next, or maybe he fights one matchup in between, and if he does win, then maybe the first matchup that he does get could be Shavkat. Maybe the UFC is thinking about doing something similar to that. But a potential matchup between those two guys is an absolute super fight. Both of those guys are extremely talented, and both of those guys are extremely diverse as well. They both have really good stand-up abilities and phenomenal grappling abilities. In my opinion, what differentiates these two guys is on the feet, Khamzat is a little more reckless and a little bit less technical, while Shavkat has a little bit more of that sniper approach and he's a lot more technical on the feet, at least compared to Khamzat. Now on the ground, I would probably say that Khamzat is the better grappler out of the two, but at the same time Shavkat is very elite, so it would be very interesting to see who does better on the ground if it even gets there. It could be a stand-up affair due to the fact that both of those guys are really good in the grappling department. Now it seems like that potential matchup is pretty far away, so it'd be very difficult to pick a winner at this point or pick a prediction, but it certainly would be a matchup that I'm very excited to see going forward. And really at this point, if Shavkat's able to beat Geoff Neal and he's able to beat him decisively, I think that's when he's really going to start to get that star power. Not necessarily due to the fact that Geoff Neal is a star or anything, but he's definitely a more recognizable name, and he's a guy that's higher up in the rankings, so if he's able to run through a guy like that, then it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes from there. It's also going to be very interesting to see how much Shavkat improves over the long term, because at this point in terms of his stand-up abilities, I would already say he's very good. He's very diverse, he's very patient on the feet, and overall he just finds his opportunities. And once he finds those opportunities, he connects cleanly with his opponent. But the question is, would he be able to improve further from there in terms of his grappling? Would he be able to get better in the long-term future? Would he be able to move his head a little bit better and be a little bit more defensively sound? Now I would say he's pretty good defensively, mostly due to that footwork, which is extremely important, but the one thing that I touched upon before that he's not great at is moving his head. So it would be interesting to see if he's able to improve that aspect of his game, and overall if he is able to, it's going to be very difficult to beat this guy. Already at this point it's extremely difficult, nobody wants to fight this guy, but just imagine how good and how difficult he would be to beat if he were to make certain improvements to his game. But in my opinion, a fighter like this that's able to be as skilled as he is right now, I think he's only going to improve with time. I think he's an extremely hard worker, and typically those type of guys that also have the talent, which Shavkat clearly does, only improve over the long-term future, and I don't see anything different for Shavkat. So at this point I am very excited to watch his next matchup against Geoff Neal. I think he's going to have a lot of success, but overall in the long-term future, the main fight that we're all waiting to see is Shavkat versus Khamzat. But I guess only time will tell if both of those guys end up making it to that point. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think Shavkat Rakhmonov could potentially be better than Khamzat Chimaev, or do you not think so? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, check one of these two videos popping up now, and until the next time, peace out guys.